Bill Wilson, co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, wrote in 1952, "If we examine every disturbance we have, great or small, we will find at the root some unhealthy dependence and its consequent demand." Wilson suggested that if we could identify and continually surrender these unrealistic and unrealizable demands, that we may then be able to accomplish what he imagined to be the recovery's next frontier, something he called emotional sobriety. Flash forward 70 years and join psychotherapists and best-selling authors Tom Rutledge and Dr. Alan Berger, who have taken up the mantle of exploring Bill Wilson's new frontier. Welcome to Emotional Sobriety.
This is our second, what I'm calling it anyway, until somebody changes my mind, nutshell workshop.
Vignettes, tutorials, but I like nutshells because it just sounds very tasty.
It's good. But one of the things that you and I and Alan enjoy doing a lot of times is just waxing philosophically about various things. But this is kind of the opposite of tangent. We wanted to be able to get down and give listeners something they can actually work with. And most recently, the first one of these things we did was on learning to separate from our inner culprit, and specifically that critical or the condemning one. Something that you and I had talked about before that we both share in common is that we've always, I say always, maybe that's true for you. I don't ever remember in my, well, maybe when I was a little kid, but I don't remember as soon as adolescent hit or even younger than that, I've always been uncomfortable with how I looked. Mm-hmm. Always been very, very self-conscious. And you were talking about that too. And specifically, we were talking about a messenger in your head, the king of the haircuts, I guess. I mean, it's like, somebody that they just thought that, okay, somebody in your head doesn't like your haircuts.
Right. Man, the king of the haircuts, that would be kind of like one of the lesser kings. Yeah. Definitely below Alexander. And
not a bad thing to bring up next time he's talking to you. You go like, right, it's the king of the haircuts. Good to see you again, buddy. It's like, oh my God, that's too funny. What I left everybody with was a little assignment about separation, which is to take a negative thought that you have about yourself, and we're going to do and I don't think I used this term last time. I call this positive dissociation. I'm talking about separation, but positive dissociation is a term I sometimes forget to use, and that I began using years ago. That makes sense, especially for people that I work with who actually know something about dissociation. And a lot of people do know that, and that can happen at various levels. It could be extreme in the sense of splitting off from yourself, or even sometimes people say experiencing things in memories of trauma from outside their own body, that kind of thing. But it can happen in lesser ways too. So the idea is let's just define dissociation in the simplest terms. Dissociation is when something is going on in my life that is so uncomfortable inside me and I don't know what to do with it. So imagine childhood trauma, for instance, is a really good example here. I don't know what to do with that. It may be psychological discomfort. It may be physical discomfort. It could be assault. It can be sexual abuse. But I'm uncomfortable. I'm so uncomfortable. I do not know what to do. I can't change any of this. And so I leave. I split off. Sometimes people will say they shut down, whatever it were, like they go into the basement of their consciousness, whatever it is. But somehow basically what's happening is you're giving up the space to these negative culprits. And now initially with trauma, those first experiences may be in fact with actual other human beings. By the time we're working on it here, we're dealing with the intrapersonal landscape here, not inter, but intrapersonal landscape. So that what we're talking about our relationships inside our own thinking. So at this point, what happens is dissociation is when like if you were to just give it over to the king of haircuts, and the king of haircuts is just basically is the authority on how you look, and whatever he says about how you look is what you tend to believe, and you tend to feel bad about yourself because of that. So positive dissociation is going to be us reversing that process It's not, it's definitely an example of simple, not easy, but we're going to reverse it because we're going to put the negative culprit outside of us, and we're going to stay home. I'm going to occupy the space. And the way we do that is the way that I described it in the last nutshell workshop thing, which is we're going to change the language. It's I never meant to be a therapist. I was an English major, and I think finally in my life I've realized that's all worked out for the best, and maybe that was the plan. If there's such a thing as a big plan, maybe that's the plan, because I've been able to use language a lot to be able to make changes in this stuff. So the way we make that change is we change the message from first person I'll just use me for a moment. I am a piece of shit, to second person, Tom, you are a piece of shit. Okay. Same message, totally different problem definition. Now the definition of the problem is that it's not that I have the belief that I'm a piece of shit. It's that I have the message that I am a piece of shit, and I believe it, or I tend to believe it, or that's what and so just another example of that would be addiction. So if instead of saying I need some tequila, it would say, Tom, you need some tequila, and I would say, okay, the definition is changed in my alcoholism to not the fact that I have alcoholism, which we know through the 12 steps, which is we don't try to get rid of alcoholism. We change our relationship with it. So it's, I need some tequila means changes to the alcoholism said, you need tequila. And what did I do before I got in recovery? I agreed, and not just agreed, but obeyed. So we agree and obey. And part of what we're working with the separation is we're going to learn how to disagree, and we're going to learn how to disobey. So everybody, last time we took a criticism, a negative thought, changed it to the second person, you pronoun, Tom, you are a piece of shit. Tom, you are worthless, whatever that happens to be, or Tom, you're ugly, or Patrick, your hair, you have a horrible haircut. Any of those. So we did that. And by doing that, we're already practicing the positive dissociation. We're putting that message out there. And the reason I have people write this down, and I say, just do this 2-column journaling that I described last time, which is write for a while, just, and don't do it. Don't feel like you have to sit around and write a comprehensive list of all your negative messages, because, we don't have time for that.
Right.
We have to go to work. We have things to do.
New ones will populate as you write.
That's right. This is like exercise. It's more important that if this makes sense to you, it's more important that you do it on a regular basis than you do it a lot. It's like, so in other words, for a few days, even just write 2 or 3 of these down and practice changing the language. You basically, I keep saying it this way, you take the I pronoun away from that inner saboteur. It's like from my should monster. The should monster does not get to possess me, because when he possesses me, that's when he says I am a piece of shit. And that means that, the missing part there is Tom. Where's Tom? I am a piece of shit. Who said that? Well, you and I know at this point, that's the message of that should monster for me. It's like, so basically I am dissociated. Mm-hmm. It's like what I want to do when I actually, I'm not saying this is going to feel that different in your body when you first do it, but at least at the beginning, academically, intellectually, we're going to create this positive dissociation. So the message changes to, Tom, you are a piece of shit. Okay. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to begin to change our response to that message. And we talked about last time, we talked about the first natural response is what I just call the yes position. I don't want people do not need to be disturbed if you find yourself just agreeing with these horrible messages. It's like, because that's what the problem has been is the difference is now is that you know that the problem is, and this is where it fits into what we work on in emotional sobriety, because we do this with other people all the time. So Patrick tells me so and so and so and so. about, you give me some feedback that bothers me, hurts my feelings, whatever. So, if Alan's working with me and trying to help me figure that out, I'm going like, well, I think I've thought about it. And I think what Patrick says is bullshit, then it's like, what's my job? My job is to follow through with that, to be able to say, like, I don't need to let that affect me in a way. Now, it may bother me that my friend has said some things to me, but I don't need to take it on as my own. The other piece is it also part of emotional sobriety. If some of what you said to me is something that I'm uncomfortable with because I need to hear it, then I need to listen to that. But that's not what's happening when we're talking about these negative culprits that are there, that are just basically their job description is self-condemnation. And it's like, and there's some other stuff we can get into about the more reasonable versions of our other characters on our committee, but these guys are not really. And you've made this point before, Patrick. I can't remember if it was while we were talking on the air or between times, but that these guys are just messages. They're not. It's like we're going to personify them because it makes it clearer. We're going to give them a voice. We're going to give them we're going to decide, are they sitting to my right or my left? Are they sitting across from me in the empty chair? Whatever that is. But we're going to do that just for clarity's sake. It's like, the truth is, these are not part of our authentic self. And so we get to choose how we're going to respond differently. So let's just take another example of this and say if we go back to your haircut king, who knows all about good haircuts and doesn't think you fare well with that, and he's talking to you about your haircut one day, it's you've already demonstrated that you're pretty good with just which I imagine you are just generally in life, is coming back with some attitude, which is a good coping defense mechanism that people like you and me have. Thank God we've benefited from that through the years. Even when the negative stuff from inner voices and from other people is still getting through to us, it's like, thank goodness we have that ability to demonstrate or show a sense of humor.
Well, it took a while to cultivate, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but it makes a difference, though, doesn't it? It's like it helps. It doesn't shield us entirely, but it does blunt some of it a little bit, and it is a protective device. But let's just say you want to now do something very different with the haircut king, and he says, your haircut's horrible. This is a bad haircut. The way you have your hair is bad. What's the most blatant way you could reject what he's saying? What would you say to him to reject his message?
Well, it would be that he's absolutely no authority on the matter, so his opinion means nothing to me. Something like that, right? Okay.
All right. So I'll be the haircut guy for a minute. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? I'm the one that tells you how you look.
Well, show me your credentials, something like that.
I've been with you forever. You know that. Nobody knows you better than I do.
Well, I've got to tell you, in this light, my hair is actually looking pretty fantastic today, and agree to disagree.
Well, I mean, yeah, but we have a saying back at the Haircut King Club, and it's what do they know? It's like, I mean,
right? Maybe I need to get my eyes checked, something like that.
Yeah. I'll get the eye guy out here.
Right. I'd like to introduce a new member of the committee.
You have bad vision. Okay. It's like, well, that's a weak comeback. It's like, but. Okay, when you say that, when you reject him, and say that, as far as I can tell, my hair looks okay, it looks good. It's like, how does that feel to you?
Well, it's empowering to be able to tell, I think that these kinds of projections, these false authorities inside our own minds. I mean, it's because he hit me on a sore spot, that I would be. I would tend to agree with that criticism, right? So, I guess, that's the issue, really.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the issues.
Yeah. And one of the things is, so what I'm asking, what I'm saying for the next piece of this, in this little nutshell workshop, is what I want people to do is do what the assignment was initially, which was just for the power of awareness, write the negative messages down and write your responses, both whether you agree or disagree and how you feel. And then when you've done that for a little while, begin the process of just imagining, how would I like to respond if this were an actual, basically, we're, always want people to know that at no point do we actually think that you have little people living inside of you, and no point are you actually, having hallucinations of auditory hallucinations of hearing these things. It's like, this is just this, having these kinds of thought processes, these kind of conversations is just how we think. So as you do this, to think in terms of, what would I really like to say to this little saboteur?
Well, I thought of a new one.
Okay.
Well, maybe it's that the haircut isn't even the issue. It's, I feel good about me. And, regardless of, I've done the best I can with my physical appearance. You can have your opinion about it and I have mine, but I'm still going to walk outside and, hang out with my girlfriend and yada, yada, yada.
Well, exactly. And again, we talked last time too about the fact that the bigger assumption, of course, is that how your hair looks, or, has anything to do with, who you are as a human being anyway. It doesn't mean we don't care. We want to look good, but it's like, noticed about your response. So your response begins to push back and it feels good. You feel empowered. But what people will notice about this is that you're still in what I call, I said the first position was a yes position. You're still in a position that I call a I'll try harder kind of thing, in the sense that it's still buying into the idea that the opinion from the haircut king matters. It's like, so because you're kind of, now this is, I don't mean to, I may be contradicting myself a little bit, but at the very beginning, I think it's fun to push back and debate with these guys a little bit, just to kind of get the feel for them being separate. But ultimately, the response is going to be, because, by the way, you said you told him he had his right to his opinion. His opinions, and this is really important for any of these negative culprits, their opinions are always the same. They've never had a different opinion. My guy has never come to me and says, ordinarily, Tom, you're a piece of shit, but today, I'm feeling pretty impressed with you.
Yeah, it would just be a different committee member,
Well, that would be an entirely different committee member, and it would come from the recovery side of all of that. So it's like, one of the things about that is that it's what we're really moving toward with practice of being aware of what these culprits are saying when they're just about condemnation, is we're moving toward a position of understanding that they are irrelevant. It's like, ultimately it is, okay, Tom, you're a piece of shit. Okay, well, of course you've always thought that. Your hair looks bad. It's like, duh. Like, since when did you when did you ever compliment my hair? And of course, if he ever did, it was a setup, right? It was going to be a trick anyway. So we get to that place where we begin to realize that it's actually irrelevant. I don't really give a shit what you think, because I know what you think. And that's one of the things for us to be aware of. One of the takeaways from this little piece here is because we, we even know this stuff a lot of times intellectually, but it's so ingrained in us that basically we're still trying to win that argument, and we don't need to win. That's the thing I want to get to help people to see. There's no argument to win here. It's like, the reason you have a message about your hair is because you're self-conscious about your hair. I'm very self-conscious about my hair, my whole physical appearance. It's like, and it's like, and I do much better with that than I have. And I imagine you do as well. It's it's a pain. What I would say is all of that for me. The message is from that those culprits that have so much to say about how I don't look like I'm supposed to look. Apparently, uh, you know, comes down to basically that's not what matters.
Right. Well, I mean, I would like to participate in joy, and to have a full life that isn't conditional, isn't conditioned on how I look or what my haircut is like.
Right.
Because
Right.
there's bigger fish to fry in life.
Well, and the other thing is this is a place I'll end this. We'll end this little piece here. Is this is where we so often are talking about with emotional sobriety. We're talking about the understanding not to take what other people say personally, sometimes not to even give a lot of merit to what people say. But in this case, we're doing the same thing. What we're doing is we're taking this all too personally. It's like it's not factual. There's nothing factual about it other than it's a fact that we have this insecurity about how we, in this case, you and I share the insecurity of how we look. It's like that's what's factual. It's like it's not telling us anything factual about how we look, how other people respond to us, how other people might think we look. And I came to the understanding a long time ago that I could not have looked as bad as I thought I did, because when people met me, they would cringe, oh Jesus, kind of like Kramer,
Right.
When he saw the ugly baby, for those of you who speak Seinfeldian, it's
I'm fluent,
but yeah, I figured you were. But the idea is that this is a place where we actually might want to get somebody else's opinion, or in this case, you probably do get somebody else's opinion. If somebody says something to you about your physical appearance, somebody says something to you about your hair, or somebody says something to you about how, if somebody compliments something about me, then basically, of course, what we do with the old way we've been doing it is we just discount that out of hand. They're just being nice. But the truth is, when we have been trained by these guys in our heads, you and I are no different than the eating disorder people that I treat who have body dysmorphia. It's like we do not see ourselves accurately. I became convinced of that a long time ago. It's like, and the truth is, other people see us a lot more clearly, more accurately than we do. So the people who care about us, and when they tell us something about how we look, or in deeper than that in terms of who we are, our job is to actually at that point really tune in and let that in and believe what they're saying to us, and to realize I don't have to check that out in the mirror, because if I check it out in the mirror, it's not going to check. That's been my experience. It's like, it's not going to check, because I've got that guy who has basically not only told me this over and over again, but he's hypnotized me to see what he sees. That's what happens with body dysmorphia, with eating disorders, is, families don't get it a lot of times when somebody who is, say, underweight and anorexic says that they're fat. The families sometimes think that they can get them, if they can get them to look in the mirror long enough, they'll see what they see. They say, no. What I've learned to teach families is, no, that person actually will, to her eyes, she will grow in the mirror. She will get bigger as that's happening. So the truth is, and that the same is true for us. It's like, we have to learn sometimes just to disqualify our own opinion. It's like, if you want to know how your hair looks, you're better off asking me.
The calculation has to shift.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if you probably have noticed this. I mention your hair often. I have since I've known you, long before you told me this far, because you have great hair.
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
Well, see, deal with that. See, that's the harder part of the therapy at this point, is like to have to let that in. It's like, it's like, no, you got great hair. So it's like, I promise you, I am the haircut king.
Well, you're the haircut king that I would benefit from listening to. That's for sure.
Well, I'm telling
Your
you,
Majesty.
I'm the rightful haircut king. That's right.
We're starting to get a strategy now for working with some of these issues.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's wrap that up there, and we'll get back soon. And I think we'll have Dr. Alan Berger back with us. Before
Further
long.
nutshells are forthcoming.
Yes. Thanks.
Tend your life, tend your myth. Cultivate your narrative with whomever you're with. Then with glass in hand and children on one knee, bring some stories, bring your stories back to me. It ain't a crime to be a human. Never be ashamed to be yourself. Rest assured that whatever you're doing will entertain me like nobody else. So here's to us, my old friends, until it's time to drink the wine and break the bread again. With glass in hand and children on one knee, bring some stories, bring your stories back to me.